Education Secretary Gillian Keegan is in the studio on the programme for us now. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you as always. How many schools are closed or partially closed today?
Well, we don't know that. We'll know later on today and we'll publish that this afternoon. We have done a survey which a lot of heads responded to, so that gives us some idea. And that said it just said the majority of schools would be open. But we've got open. But we've got how many are open, then how many are open with some restrictions, how many are open to everybody. Obviously, we're really disappointed that any are closing, but we will know later on today, and then we'll publish that information.
OK, I was speaking to the joint head of the NEU union. And he says that there was not, when he came in to see you, the minister brought no proposals whatsoever to the table, nothing on pay this year or next, no suggestion of non-consolidated lump sum, no pay rise. What's the point in calling them in?
Well, we need to continue these discussions. So I've met with them now since the 9th of January. I've met with them 3 times, by the way, for over an hour each time. They keep talking about half an hour meeting, but it was an hour and 10 minutes, that one. And we've also had 2 official meetings, one of which was 6 hours to go through all of the details. We have to keep these discussions open. Obviously, when you're around the table, it's not going to be, here's our inflationary pay rise plus whatever. This is not going to happen. It would be irresponsible of us to do that.
So what's the point of them coming in?
Because we need to find where there is a landing zone, really. So when you look at teachers and teachers' pay, when you actually look at teachers' sort of things that irritate teachers or things that they want change in, it's always workload, behaviour sometimes, and other aspects of bureaucracy, as well as looking at pay to make sure that we can recruit the very best and retain teachers as well. So what we've said to them is, look, we cannot... As a country, we cannot put, for some parts of society, an inflation or inflation plus rise, which, many people are striking for. What we have to do is halve inflation. That's the most important thing, or get it even lower than that. And then everybody in the country will benefit. We can't bake in inflation, which is what will happen if we start to get wages spiralling out of control in inflationary or even more than inflation rises. So that is the huge focus for this year. But what we've said to them is, we accept, and we've worked with them a lot on recruitment and retention challenges in the past. And we've said, we will look at future pay, we will look at workload, we will look at flexibility. The teachers also want to look at more job sharing and flexibility. We look at all of those things. That's the point of calling them in, because we believe, get something which would be fair to teachers, and we're always looking to be constructive. We want our children to have the best education in the world. That means we need to attract people into teaching, and we need to retain people and motivate people, as in
OK, but the pointy-headed finance people will say inflation, inflation, inflation. The Institute for Fiscal Studies says that teachers have seen a 13% real-time loss in pay, £6,000 pay cut between 2012 and 2022. It's hardly surprising they're angry.
Well, when they look, the independent pay review body, when it looks at all of this, it takes 9 inputs. It looks at pay, it looks at other people's pay, it looks at, retention, it looks at recruitment, it looks at inflation, it looks at all of those things and comes up with. So just so your listeners know, the average classroom teacher is paid £39,500. This year, the pay rises were 5% for experienced teachers, 8.9% for new teachers. New teachers will be on a starting salary of £30,000 from September 23. That's as per our manifesto commitment. 40% of classroom teachers this year will be receiving up to a 15.9% rise, because as well as the pay on the bands, there's also progression within the bands. So it's actually more complex, and it is quite a complex picture. We've also looked at recruitment challenges, for example, maths and physics teachers, and some of the chemistry and some of the other science teachers, computer science as well. And we've put bursaries in place for those. We've also put a top-up for some of those schools as well, some schools in disadvantaged areas to attract
teachers are paid
those.
enough, is what you're saying?
Well, teachers, everybody wants to be paid more. There's
not one teachers paid enough?
Well, we look at that. We look at that in terms of recruitment, retention, and we look at that in terms of the starting salary. That's why we've improved the starting salary. So it will be £30,000
and
next year.
That'll be enough?
Well, if it isn't, we'll look at it again. But we will. We have recruited and attracted a lot of graduates.
So
30,000 for somebody coming out of university. And that's across the country.
I'll let you give me all the figures. They keep going on strike. We've got several more strikes planned if they don't get what they want. You're saying strike as much as you want, there's no more money?
Well, no, what I've said is it's really disappointing, really concerning. This strike is not a last resort. The discussions we had on Monday were constructive discussions. They even said that at the beginning, whilst then saying I didn't come up with any offers, etc. And that's, of course, not what was going to happen. I'm not going to just go in and say, here you go, we will do inflation plus whatever. It would be economically incoherent to do that. We can't do that, and we've made that very clear. But we will get inflation down, so everybody will feel better, and the pound.
So you're just going to run down the clock until inflation starts?
No, we've said we will talk about future pay. We've actually held back.
This pay round.
Well, it's already. In fact, our future pay, our submission was actually due in last Friday, and we've halted it.
That's for next year. That's from April. What about this year? This is when they want the money.
Well, yes, and we've said, we're looking at future pay, we'll look at things like workload, but I've said what our objective is this year is to get rid of the problem, which is inflation. And we know why inflation's there, right? This is not usual inflation. It's very specific to the war in Ukraine and the overhang from the pandemic, two highly unusual things that are happening on our continent, and they've affected every country.
They have, but
so we don't want to bake in
anybody else's.
Well, we don't want to bake in inflation, and we need to get our economy so that it's better than everyone else's. And I think we can. But I think we can do that. Jeremy laid out his plan. I'm very confident in our economy. I mean, I've worked in business before I became a politician for 30 years in many sectors. I am very confident about our economy and our ability.
So will there be a significant pay
rise
next year for them?
Well, what we said is we will look and talk
in double figures.
No, I mean we will look and talk at what is reasonable to make sure that we always retain the best teachers and we attract the best teachers. To have a world-class education system, you need brilliant teachers. That's something we both agree on.
Okay.
But the other thing we agree on is our children have been through so much disruption in the pandemic that it really is super concerning for children. They're already behind. We need to help them catch up.
Okay.
And that is, it needs teachers to be in school to do that.
Running out of time, let me ask you about Dominic Raab. Should the PM ask him to step back until the inquiry into his bullying is concluded? Well,
I personally think it is fair to let investigations continue. I think that's the fair process. So I think actually it was Dom himself who instigated this investigation. So that's ongoing. Obviously, they're going to uncover all the facts. And then when you get the facts, you discuss them, take the action.
But what's it like for you as a woman sitting around a cabinet table with someone who allegedly makes his staff feel suicidal?
I sit around the cabinet table and, don't see that, right? I don't see any, I feel very comfortable with my colleagues around the cabinet table. I think it's only fair when somebody is, there's something like this, somebody accuses somebody of something, that you go through a fair process. I think that is the right thing to do. And then the Prime Minister and Dominic will obviously discuss that and make the right decision based on that. You've got to go on the facts, and they're uncovering the facts right now.
OK, Jacob Rees-Mogg yesterday sat there where you are and told us that people are too snowflakey about bullying claims.
Well, I mean, I don't agree with that. I mean, bullying's very serious. And actually, as the Education Minister, one of the things that really is worrying in schools is bullying, and online as well. The sort of way that bullying can spiral online is awful. So I don't agree with that. Bullying is wrong and people should not bully anybody.
It's good to see you, as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.